Hi again, everybody. It is Victor from Mark Lawrence's Playbook, and I'm the NFL Over Under guy. If you see over there, I'm also the author of the Playbook Totals Tip Sheet. And there's a picture of this week's tip sheet number 5 as we are now officially 4 weeks into the 2023 season. We'll do a real quick review. We'll do a quick preview of week 5, and if time permits, we'll bring in King's best friend, Tuco, for one of his NFL free team totals in week 5 as well. So let's get into it. Last week's magic number in the NFL, 43.5. That was the average combined points per game in all 16 games in the NFL in week number 4. 43.5 combined points per game in pro football. And if that seems a little bit low, you're definitely right. Of course, we're following a 2022 season last year in which there were only 118 overs and 151 unders. And of course, this season, the 2023 version has started out in much the same way. A lot of teams are struggling on offense. In fact, only 6 teams right now are averaging more than 390 offensive yards, which is kind of the metric between a very good offense and offenses that are not very good. On the flip side, there is a whopping 16 teams, and that's half of the entire league, that are averaging 320 or less offensive yards per game. As a result, here are the over under totals to the first 4 weeks of the season. In week 1, there were 4 overs, 12 unders. In week 2, a big rebound week, 13 overs, 3 unders. Week 3 went 5 and 11 over under. That's 5 overs, 11 unders. And finally, last week we settled in at 7 overs and 9 unders. 8 teams out of 32 have had more overs than unders on the season, while 14 of the teams have had more unders than overs. We're going to move into our next page, which is this week's All Systems Are Go section. And again, we do want to point out that the primetime games have still been pretty low scoring in the NFL. There's been 14 of them. And of course, a primetime game is any of the NFL games that are played at night. And again, those games have gone now 4 overs, 10 unders on the season. And that was after the Monday night game. The Seattle Giants game went under the total. Those games have averaged only 41.8 points per game. Now, let's run into this quick week 5 preview if I can. And aside from the fact that we have another one of the games across the pond in London, and we'll be covering that on the Mark Lawrence podcast, there are 5 games this week in which, once again, a road team is favored. If we continue to follow the hot over under pattern over the last year or so, the sharp better is going to be betting more unders than overs in these games. That's because since the start of last season, NFL games in which the road team is favored have gone an extremely one sided 42 and 83 over under. That's only 42 overs, 83 unders. That's 66% under the total. So here are this week's 5 games in which the road team is favored. I'm not saying we're going to go under in all 5 of them, but if you do decide to bet them, play more unders than overs. Those 5 games this week in which the road team is favored: Baltimore favored by 3.5 on the road against Pittsburgh, Cincinnati favored by a field goal at Arizona, the Eagles favored by 4.5 on the road against the Rams, KC favored by 5 against Minnesota, and the Monday night game, Green Bay -2 against Las Vegas. With that said, we're going to give the ball to our boy Tuco. That is King's best friend. And there he is on the side. There is Tuco. And you know what? Tuco's team total of the week was a winner last week on this show with the Houston Texans to go over 19.5 points. As you can see, The play for this week from our boy Tuco is in the Monday night game. No, we're not playing the over in the full game, but we're playing the Packers to go over their team total of 22 and a half points on the road in Las Vegas. Now, with a full 10 days to prepare for this game and to rest up from the most recent game, which was way back last Thursday, Tuco feels very, very good that the Packers will finally have all hands on deck in terms of their offensive weapons. This is the first time all year that there'll be no play counts, no pitch counts. The entire offense for Green Bay is healthy. They're already 3-1 to the over on this season, and their scoring average on the road is 31.0 points per game. I've got a couple of pertinent database numbers that I gave to Tuco. NFL favorites off a Thursday division home loss have averaged 27 points per game in the last 10 years. Monday night, non-division road favorites like the Packers averaged 27.1 points per game last season. Finally, on the Raiders side of things, they're one of only three defenses this year in the NFL, the Raiders, that has allowed 100% touchdowns when their opponent gets inside the 20-yard line. In their last 10 home games, dating back to last season, the Raiders have allowed an average of 26 points per game at home. It's a fairly short number for the Packers, over 22 and a half points. That's your free NFL team total for week 5, courtesy of our dog Tuco. Don't forget this week's Totals Tip Sheet newsletter is available at the playbooksports.com website. That's your review and preview for week 5. Let's get back to the Mark Lawrence contest, and best of luck with all of your selections this week.